they are just aiming. 90% of the people are just aiming on here and then, and they never act on just, firing. 5% of people aim, then fires, and then they give up. The other 5% of people are going to keep aiming and firing and trying, and eventually you are going to hit the spot.
We look at other people as if they're doing better than I am. And we don't even know them.
Whenever I feel successful is whenever I realize that I'm doing the right thing, the true thing. Me looking at the mirror and saying, hey, hello.
Dude, that deserves a high five right there. I started becoming ethical and honest with the people that I dealt with. Not only did I have peace of mind and confidence in knowing that I'm doing the right thing, I actually started gaining. People started giving me more money than I expected.
It's kind of biblical. As long as you give, you are going to receive.
Right. It's crazy when you start to become aware of the truth. You're having a healthier sense of self, and then all of a sudden, the thoughts come in. So you remember that one time? Remember when you did that?
Yeah.
Do you know how many people would hate you for that? Oh my gosh, I do remember that. And then you're creating the story and you keep going with it.
The only thing you have to do is accept it.
Forgiveness, to accept it.
Success also comes with the knowledge of you.
Hey guys, welcome to another podcast on the Robbie Moore Podcast Show. It's ya boy, Robbie. And I'm really excited. I'm super grateful to have this setup here and finally have this opportunity to be able to converse with all different types of people. And here I have a very special friend, a new friend. Actually, I just met him not too long ago. And I'm going to introduce this person to you. We're going to talk about several different factors today. We're going to be talking about relationships, money, success, becoming the better version of yourself. So today's a much more casual conversation. So we'll see what comes out of it. Take what's good, leave the rest behind. And today I'm going to introduce you to Juan David.
Hey, thank you, Robbie. Hello, everyone. So glad to be now here with you and talking about, all things that we on backstage usually talk, because we have been meeting each other. Since
just a few weeks now.
A few weeks now, right?
It's only been a few weeks.
And it's been a really, really good journey.
It has been
learning from you, of course.
You too. It's been good learning from you too.
I really appreciate the opportunity, and appreciate you to be here and having me on your podcast show.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's my pleasure to have you on the show. And tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell people about your career. How did you end up doing what you're doing now? And by the way, Juan is the owner of this beautiful studio.
There we go.
Later on, we'll tell you guys the name of the studio. And in case you're ever in Colombia and Bogota, you guys got to come check out this studio. So tell us a little bit about how you got to this stage of doing music, maybe what your relationship is now, your family situation. You're Colombian. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So music was something that from when I was a kid, I was learning from. I was really self-driven to play piano, to learn about piano, and actually my father came with this idea of me having some piano lessons and stuff, and I liked them, and then he start searching for a better kind of teacher. We ended up with a piano teacher that whose name is Pilar Leiva. She's one of the most important pianists, Colombian pianist.
Really?
Yeah, Pilar Leiva is of course from the classical kind of music, but that was the beginning for me. Learning from her, listening from her, having bunch of experiences, music related, of course. My parents were very supportive in that kind of way. But whenever Pilar approach them and tell them that I was able to go now to the next step, and the next step is going to be like quitting school and just uh, making myself all the way into the music world, the piano lessons and all that stuff. They went like crazy. I mean, they didn't.
I can imagine.
They really regret. I mean, like, you know, like whenever you like rechazas, like,
Yeah, it's almost like you're pushing back or
absolutely.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that point of my life was like a pushback from them into my music, and I happened to have the next 3-4 years not to be in like in piano lessons, not even nothing, because I mean, like they were very afraid of me being into this kind of, you know, like education that was not very traditional school education, but this kind of musician education. Of course, you happen to also have to study and all the basic kind of subjects in school, but most of the time you were spending time on piano lessons and learning piano, how to play it. So they weren't like very happy about the idea.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of, before you continue, is when I decided to become an actor. I was 17 years old, and I remember I was in high school. And I remember I was in an English class, and everybody knew I was the class clown. I was always making jokes. In fact, back in the day, I used to get in trouble a lot just because I wanted the attention. I wanted to make people laugh. And most people were like, Robbie, you have to get into any source of entertainment. So eventually I met a person. His name is Josh. He was on the Disney Channel, and I was very inspired that he was, you know, acting on the Disney Channel. I really looked up to him. So I ended up trying to follow his lead. And I was eventually going to studios, knocking on doors. Like, it was the craziest thing. I was doing so many stupid things. Like, nobody does that, just knocking on a studio, like, hey, can I get a job type of thing. You know, there's like a whole different process. So eventually I was confident, and I rose my hand in class. And my teacher told me, she said, hey, Robbie, do you have a question? I said, I don't have a question. I have a statement. I'm going to become an actor.
So that was for you, like, you know, like,
Yeah, it was like everybody thought it was just so stupid. Like, I was interrupting the class again, you know, doing the, you know, interrupting, trying to make a joke. And I eventually told my parents, similar to you, I said, hey, I'm going to become an actor. And they said, yeah, you're not going to become an actor. You're going to go to school. You're going to go to university.
Yep.
And it was the very beginning stage of me. I didn't recognize this, but my family system, I call it the Wi-Fi system. If you go against with what you want to do, you're like, let's say you want to become a pianist or a musician or an actor or a dancer or whatever, it's almost like they think of it as a joke. It's like, yeah, no, you're not going to make us look bad.
okay.
It's like this family system of like, we don't want what's best for you. We want what's best for us. And that, I didn't recognize that until recently, because of all this healing that I've done. It was never about me. It was that I was a weak human being, and that I genuinely was just wanting to become the human that I wanted to be. And
Absolutely.
there were other people that were saying, no, you will not. And I was confused by that. Yeah. So it was only a couple years later that I was working really hard. I didn't really know how to act. I didn't know how to do much of anything. And eventually I got my first job. It was on a TV show. It was like a Comedy Central show called Reno 911. I did a guest star role. And it was a very famous TV show. And I was in the whole episode, and I had speaking lines and everything. So I consider it was a prayer answered from God. You know, he gave me the role that I wanted. It was a very happy moment. And eventually the phone started ringing. People started seeing me on TV. People say, oh my gosh, like, Robbie, I never actually knew you were serious. Like, how the hell did you do that? You know? And then my parents started thinking, oh, wow, he's doing something. Like, it's not that they genuinely believed in me from when I wanted to do it. It was like I had to show proof to do it. So that reminded me a little bit of your story. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I allow you to continue.
I mean, like, there's something important you said. Like, we kind of also have that kind of, you know, like, fear. I mean, not coming from us, but coming from the ones around us. You know, because whenever you talk about like being a musician or being an actor or an actress, like, this kind of fears and this kind of prejudice comes to mind, that everyone is going to be, like an alcoholic kind of music star or something kind of, the kind of excess type of artist. And I think that was something that they were able to work, and with time, like they knew that I wasn't made for being something else than a musician and a producer. What happened next was very funny, because I don't know how much years they went since I like lost contact from my very first piano teacher, Pilar Leiva. And one day my parents came to me, and they told me that we are going to change from schools, and changing from schools meant that we have to wait for 6 months, while the schedule here in Colombia, we have, I don't know what is the exact kind of concept and the name of the concept, but there are two kind of like timelines, timeline A or timeline B, or schedule A, schedule B, I mean. So schedule B is more likely like in the States, that you have the summer cut, and the year,
Right.
the academic year starts from August, I think.
Yeah, it starts in June. August. Yeah.
Somewhere like that, and ends on like May, June,
Right.
For next year. I was switching, so I was going to have. I had 6 months of, okay, so what I'm going to do, because we have to wait until the school I'm changing starts classes, right?
And how old were you at the time?
I was 15,
Okay.
15 years old.
Yeah,
So
at 15, that's a lot of time.
yeah, and I had the idea of, okay, so now that I'm gonna have time, why don't like retake those piano lessons,
Right.
So my mother was very happy that I kind of have this initiative and this drive to continue like my musical formation. And she found a program, a music program, or for one of the universities here in Colombia. And the teacher that was the one that was making the auditions, guess what was that teacher?
Pilar.
Pilar.
Oh my gosh. That's
So like
insane.
5 years later, Pilar, I came by like to have this audition, and whenever I entered
That's amazing.
yeah,
That's an opportunity right
destiny,
there.
but
let me ask you this. Did she favor you because she knew you, or did she give you the chance that everybody else, it's like, did she choose you over others because of your past relationship, or did she treat you as if you were just a random person auditioning?
a random person.
Okay.
Yeah. She was very neutral about those kind of decisions. However, this part of my life was very like important, because there I like found my why, my purpose. I didn't want to be a musician in terms of being a classical musician or a classical pianist. There, I met a guy who composes. He made his own music. Then we became really, really good friends. His name is Nicolas Pra, and then I was able to understand that I wanted to be a music producer. I wanted to know how to compose, how to create, how to record. So, of course, like that day I came to the audition, Pilar told me, "Don't worry about the audition. I'm just going to talk about you with your mom. You can just go out, and I'm gonna have a really deep conversation with her."
Wow.
So I didn't know exactly what Pilar said to my mom. My mom told me just like the main topic of it, and was there when I was 15 years old. I mean, like there have been they passed many years without me playing any piano. So Pilar kind of, like whenever you bring something to somebody in front of it, and kind of like, hey, what did you did? Because for now, when I was 15 years old, Pilar told my mother that I was able to be like one of the greatest like
Classical
junior
pianist.
pianist that she was like preparing for all the programs that she had outside the country.
So she was blaming Pilar for having influence over you, maybe.
no, Pilar was blaming my
Oh,
mom
oh, right.
of
Okay.
not giving me enough attention in terms of music, because my parents just quit me out of the program when I was a kid. And when I was like 15 years old, of course I was still a kid, but
Sure.
5 years without playing an instrument is really really important time for you to be like
Yeah.
developing your muscles.
Sure.
So there you that's it. And like I overcome that conversation then with my mother. I realized that I really didn't want to be a pianist. I love playing piano, and it has been like the most important instrument that I learned, and that has like helped me to understand better music and to even compose for others, music for others. And that was how I decided to be a music producer.
Wow.
I was 15 years old.
That's amazing.
And it came with the dream of having a recording studio.
That's very young to know what you want to do.
Yeah, it was really, really crazy, because
Do you think that you being a music producer was something that was a predestined vocation for you?
absolutely. I mean, I don't imagine myself like making any other thing. Of course, we are having conversation, and of course, I'm having a full service studio, a recording studio, you
Right.
know, and I'm really glad of that, because that came part of my dream. I mean, like, part of being music producer was also to have a recording studio,
Sure.
but in the depth of it, on the root, the idea of all was to support others, like making their music, making their message come out. I think that's gonna be like the main purpose. Of course, I make it through music.
Of course.
I help others through music. In this case, through podcast.
Right.
But the important thing here is to like facilitate a space, this kind of equipment for others to have their ideas like recorded and be listened by others.
Right. Something that I really like about your business model is something that I also implement in my own business model and in my life in general is just being of service to others. Is almost like I used to think in the past, like, what can I take? What can I, if I have a business, I'm trying to make an earning, what can I take from others? What price should I add on this? It was all about my needs, my services, my business. And I was putting very little focus on my own customers, my own clients, as far as what their needs were. When I made the transition and realizing that it wasn't really necessarily about my own needs, it was about if I put 100% of my focus towards other people and what they need, the business will come.
Absolutely.
That's something I really learned from you, is that when I met you, I was, I looked at 2 or 3 other podcast studios, and, one person was like, made an appointment and this and that. She was right there, and it was like easy for me to walk in. And coming here was so easy. It was like, you showed me around, we had a simple chat, and then we booked things the same day. It was the flexibility. It was the focus that you were putting on me. You were making me feel like special, like, yeah, like whatever you need, I'm here.
And whenever you are going to tell, it's going to be important.
Right.
So you have to treat it as with much of respect. I mean,
What do you mean by that?
whenever you try to do something like to create or co-create something, you must respect that, and you have to put the most out of you.
Right.
Even if that project is not yours at the beginning, then
Right.
occasionally you are going to be so blended and
Yeah.
so like matched with the same efforts as the creator, in this
Sure.
case you, that is going to be like a matter of just breathing. You
Yeah.
don't have to think about
Yeah,
how
feeling
you are breathing.
comfortable.
Feeling comfortable.
And that's why I say that when I came here, it's so crazy. So I was working in customer service for about 15 years. And I remember every single customer that gave me a hard time, I wanted to give them a hard time.
Huh.
Like all the bullshit that they were trying to give me by being a customer, and the customer's always right. Like, it wouldn't fly with me. It would fly with other people because most people are people pleasers. And in the past, I was a people pleaser, but I was really learning to come out of that by putting my foot down, setting the boundary, and realizing that you're not going to speak to me this way. Just because you're the customer and I'm providing a service, it doesn't mean that you have the right to be able to speak to me in the way that you're speaking to me. Most customers ended up respecting me more because I didn't allow them to trample all over me. So what I said, hey, this is what's going to happen. You're either going to speak to me correctly with patience because I'm here wanting to help you, or you can continue speaking to me the way you're speaking to me, and I'm just going to walk away, and I'm not going to help you, and your needs are not going to be met. And they always chose to be patient. They're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, to be
they like
kind.
woke up.
Yeah.
It was like a person's speaking to me. Like they're not like, whimpering and scared because I'm the customer, right?
Uh-huh.
I changed their mind because I'm like, I gave them two options. And of course, their main goal is to want to be helped. Yeah. And the second option is if I walk away, their objectives are not going to be met. The opposite happened is when customers were super patient with me, like overly loving and giving, and said, you know what, Robbie, take your time. I understand it's a hard process. I'm going to go sit over here in the corner. And hours went by and I was trying to figure things out, and they were still patient. And it was almost a part of me wanted to give even more. I wanted to give them discounts and whatever. It's a part of my mind wanted to help them because I realized the person that was in front of me was just such a generous, gracious person. Something similar happened to me when I came here, is that your graciousness and you're willing to serve, and don't worry about the hour. If we go over, it's fine. It makes me want to keep coming back and give my business and overgive. And if there's extra cash that I have, give it to Juan, because it's crazy how that works. Is like, we think that as business owners or people that are offering a service or whatever communication we're having with people, is that if we're just by the book, people are going to respect us. Well, what happens is they actually don't feel that comfortable with us because we're by the book. Oh, you have to pay this and this and this and this. And then we feel a little bit like devalued, almost to the point where like, is that all you want from me? It's almost like the recent experience I had when I was renting the room, and I talked about it in the previous podcast. She was complaining about a curtain, and she bought a cheap curtain, and I used the curtain and it broke, but it wasn't because I was, out of my way trying to break the curtain.
Yeah,
it was just it was the material that she bought. And it wasn't, I stood up for myself to say, that's not my problem. You bought a cheap curtain and I showed you that it's working, right? Had she have been like, yeah, I bought a cheap curtain. I understand you were trying and like, it wasn't your fault, whatever, I'll take care of it. A part of me would say, you know what, let me pay for half with whatever you pay. It's a crazy dynamic with human communication is when we talk about our own stuff where I made a mistake. It's like, there's an amazing book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I think that's the author. He said, when you approach a situation and talk about your own stuff, I'm kind of making a mistake here. Other people are willing to have much more compassion. Be like, no, you're good. No worries. Like, I'll fix it. Had she have been, it was cheap, I would have just been like, you know what? Here's half. Like, let me help with it. But because she gave me this attitude of she's not seeing me, right? So that was the experience that I came here, is that I love coming to Stereo Joint Studios because I feel valued. I feel respected as a person. I feel like I'm not looked at as just a customer, like, oh, you have to schedule this. So I really appreciate that about you. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, like, you're very welcome. In terms of like, that's it, You can expect less than that.
Right.
Whenever you are offering this kind of services. And of course, that has to do with like you like also bringing so much value into others' life,
Right.
So,
and it's no longer about the number, the money that you're receiving.
Exactly. Apart from that.
We talked about this when I first met you, is whenever you put 100% of your focus towards others, the rest comes. I don't know where it comes from, but it comes.
Yeah. It's kind of, I like, I don't know, kind of supernatural kind of thing, or I mean like energetic kind of thing.
It is. And I think at the same time, and I want you to continue to talk about your, with Pilar's situation. I was digressing because I thought this is a really important topic to talk about. At the same time, when we cheat people, we think we're gaining.
Yeah.
but we're losing in other areas.
Absolutely.
It's not just we're gaining. A lot of people that, I noticed a lot of people say that narcissists end up becoming CEOs and they become the president and they become whatever. They end up needing to go through so many loopholes of cheating the system to get to where they're at now, because that's what it takes, I think, in this world to really most managers of companies and CEOs, they hire them because their emotional ability to have empathy is like 0 to none. So they're focused on the company growing, not necessarily helping the people.
Yep.
So my motto is that, whenever, and in the past I wasn't always perfect. I've had my own fair share of mistakes, and I look back and say, wow, I was really thinking that I was gaining in this area, but I started losing in other areas. For example, I don't know, I lost cash or some other problem came up. And I started I was like, wait a second, I was trying to really be successful in this area, and then here's all these problems happening, right? Then when I shifted my life and my perspective is, I started becoming ethical and honest with the people that I dealt with. Not only did I have peace of mind and confidence in knowing that I'm doing the right thing, I actually started gaining. People started giving me more money than I expected, So I just wanted to share that. I thought it was really important to talk about.
And I don't know, maybe we kind of like make a little parenthesis here, and it's kind of biblical. As long as you give, you are going to receive.
Right.
The same kind of thing, the same kind of stuff. You have to be generous. Whenever you're generous, not only you can be generous in many ways. I mean, like, you can be generous with your time, with your money. You can as well be generous with your how do you say this in English? Animo, like your
Emotions?
No emotions.
Animo is, what is animo?
Like whenever you try to cheer someone up.
Oh, encouragement.
Encouragement.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because that's something I usually think that's like the very first thing that you have to treat whenever you kind of talk with someone, and you have to encourage them. Encourage them to bring up the best of them. Like in terms of intellectuality and in terms of patience, in terms of us and every one of us hearing themselves. First hearing, of course. So that's the reason why, I mean, like, it's for me so important to encourage myself, of course, and others, because I'm pretty sure that whenever I sit down and speak with you, maybe you are at some level that I quite don't understand. And I will appreciate that you bring me up to that level of mindfulness or of knowledge, or because you know things that I don't know, and I know things that you maybe don't know.
That's a very humble approach. I used to think I knew everything.
Okay.
I think in the past I came from you're talking to a very new version of Robbie. This has been a version of me that's been developing for, I would say, 4 years now.
Okay.
But before that, I mean, I just used to talk more than I was listening. I wasn't really listening or actually hearing the other person. I was actually wanting to flex and tell them about my stuff. And I think that's naturally, a lot of people want to do that because they want to really feel like appreciated, or like, oh, look at what he's doing. But what I found, Juan, is this. I actually was the most least interesting person on the earth by always talking about my stuff and my achievements and everything that I'm doing. And I thought, the whole time people were really thinking, wow, Robbie's really cool. Like, look at him, he's doing all these things. But little did I know, people were like, I'm not really interested in this conversation, and I feel like I just have to stay here to listen, And I'm recognizing now, when I flip the script, is like when I genuinely take interest in other people and ask them questions, learn about their life, it takes the weight off my shoulders. Yeah. It's like, oh, I don't actually have to do any work. I don't have to flex. If I really appreciate something about what I'm doing in my life, I don't have to share it because I know I appreciate what I'm doing. And I'm still working on it. Obviously, it's not perfect, but I've noticed other people where they're super humble, like you, for example. They share kind of like a basic version of them, but then I find out they're actually like super successful. That's the person I want to be. Okay. And that I'm working towards, is like really like being modest and like to sharing too much about myself. And, I really like the things that I'm doing in my life, but I don't have to share that to feel like it makes sense.
So what if I tell you you are already that person? Because
Yeah.
we are just on the journey of just you just said it,
All right.
like pushing away those boundaries, those weight that
Sure.
we like, that cross. I mean, and that's ego.
Yeah.
So we already are. We I mean, like I am, but I have been trained to be another person all my life. School teachers, even family. You have talked about it on the podcast, and I think we can like point to some of the other episodes that you have had with your guest, and I'm really like listening what to every single word they say, and I'm very impressed. I mean, like some of them like have talked about the ego, and like how to be like themselves and how to look for themselves in some point of life. And the thing is, we have forgotten about who we really are, but we are already. We just need to remind ourselves and to learn where we left ourselves at, where we started to make poor choices in terms
Yeah.
of relationships, in terms of money, in terms of like professional kind of stuff. Because I mean, life is an engine that works with so much of
Gears
Gears,
and
complications and stuff.
from the childhood we started
Yeah.
kind of having these limited beliefs, and now it's into our adulthood, and
it hurts.
it hurts.
It hurts,
Yeah.
and whenever you kind of peel off this part of the onion, I mean, it's gonna hurt, and it hurts quite hard. I mean, like I had this experience of me like peeling out myself completely, and like staring at a Juan that I wasn't happy with him, because I wasn't glad, even if I was humble or not, even if I was like giving away too much or too less, or even if I have made good things. I mean, like, like evil doesn't care about morals and ethics.
Right.
It cares about your identity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what we have forgotten, our
Yeah.
identity. So even if you are created for I don't know, like making music, making this kind of content happens, I
Right.
really love this. This is my life. I mean, I love to help others, to serve others,
Right.
on their storytelling, and of course, like on their journey inside, going deep, because the artists and the musicians are those kind of people that kind of construct their ego based on some other kind of ideas, and ideas that are going to hurt them,
Harmful.
are really
Yeah,
harmful.
just for their benefit.
Exactly.
It's like love bombing in a way.
Exactly. So whenever I work with an artist, and whenever I work to a client in this kind of like projects, I have to be like like I don't know, is maybe going to be so much of a raw kind of conversation, but I mean, like I tend to have that conversation,
Right.
to really point them where is going to be the truth about being an artist.
And
That-
that's hard information for people to hear,
Absolutely.
but
And
it serves them in the long run.
exactly, and some others are going to be like prepared for that conversation. Some others are not going to
Yeah.
understand that conversation. Some others are going to take it so bad.
Oh, absolutely. It's almost like in the acting industry. A lot
Exactly.
of people, a lot of actors are like, yeah, you're a good actor, because they want them to come back to their acting school. They're not really doing them a favor other than, like I said, how can I save me? Oh yeah, you're a great actor. Keep coming back, So the actor coach will tell the student, oh, you're good just because, he doesn't want to say the truth, because if he says you're not a good actor, I mean, that would actually be better to say, hey, you need more classes type of thing. But I remember my acting coach said, you're a horrible actor, Robbie, and I was like shocked, like, really? That crushed me,
Okay.
But I'm so thankful that he told me the truth, because why would I want somebody to tell me a lie just for me to feel happy and I'm not even making any progress?
Okay.
And I think that happens a lot. A lot of people are told, you're a good singer, you're a good actor, you're a good musician, but the person's not really helping them grow. So I like what you said is that sometimes hard conversations are really hard to have,
Absolutely.
but it's really worth it to have them. It's not just within this dynamic, but with relationships.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember in the past, I didn't really know how to share how I was feeling with people because I was afraid that there would be conflict or they would abandon me. Like, oh, this person's way too difficult. Let me just leave him, you know? But then I realized vulnerability is a strength. It's very attractive to be able to share with people how I'm feeling. Hey, I'm really feeling uncomfortable with the way you're speaking to me right now. And what I need is for you to be maybe a little bit more sensitive with your choice of words. Like that's a perfect example. And I think that is a good indicator on where somebody is at spiritually and mentally.
Absolutely.
Is because we're not afraid of people leaving us. We're putting ourselves first.
Yeah.
And if you share that type of information with a musician or somebody telling them and you have the right intentions of guiding them, it's up to the person how they want to respond. It's not our responsibility on how people react or respond. It's that we're giving the information. Now the ball is in their court on how they want to move forward.
Absolutely.
But a lot of people are mama boys like I was, I was always trying to get my family or my mom to tell me, oh yeah, you're doing great, this and that. But it's like, I really needed a mom to say, you're doing great. I love you so much, but here's where we can improve. And it's like, yeah, I love what you're doing there because you're really helping other people rather than leaving them on and, lying to themselves.
Yeah, I think, and it's a matter of time. I mean, like me saving time, me saving you time, and me saving myself time.
Right.
And that's the only kind of transaction, like evidence that we can like have in terms of how much I'm going to give you. Right? In terms of not only time, but in terms of how I spend that time. And I'm probably going to spend that time paying close attention to you, listening to you, asking questions because you are needing maybe this or that, that's going to allow me to know you better. And there is where the relationship starts, but because we were talking in the backstage, I mean, like, how will it be for us better to, to approach this conversation, this chat that we are having? And we are now arrived to that part of the relationships because based on everything that we have talked about, like respect, like being honest, like being, like being true to yourself, not to myself. I don't need you to be the one that you are supposed to be. The guy, the successful guy that you now are, right? Because you are just in the journey of remembering how you are successful. How are you bringing value to others? Yeah, how are you bringing better bliss on others? Right.
So what you're saying is that success doesn't actually have to look like buying a new car, buying a new house. It looks like you're successful. But what you're saying is building the success of other people on the way of building your own success.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. That's huge. That's an awareness that most people will never get to because they think that in the Western culture, it's like, how do I look? Oh, that's success. You have a nice car, you're successful. You have a really big house, you're successful. But really, is that success? Like, what is that? Why do people equate nice things in your image with success? I don't get it.
I mean, like, it's kind of a meaning for someone, right? Not for me. Success also comes with the knowledge of you knowing yourself and recognizing that you have also flaws, that you have also kind of strengths,
Right.
But you have to juggle with them. And you have to play with them and
with them.
You have to, of course, because that's kind of the approach I want you to understand about me, like being or not being successful. Whenever I feel successful is whenever I realize that I'm doing the right thing, the true thing, that thing that whenever I arrive to that, it's, real. And it's not real because I can touch it or I can smell it or I can taste
but
it.
It's in here.
but it's in here. It's on me, and me looking at the mirror and saying, "Hey, hello,
Wow.
hello,
Dude, that deserves a high five right there.
hello, Juan, hello, Robbie."
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's you. It's
That
not other
deserves a high
person.
five because the only person you'll ever 100% of the time be with is yourself. So am I going to cheat myself because I'm going to be with myself my whole life? And when I'm spending alone in the dark hours of the night, am I going to be comfortable with myself for the decisions I'm making? Or am I going to really question my integrity?
Yeah,
And that goes back to, my entire life, I was really afraid to be vulnerable to admit that sometimes I make bad choices. And that's okay. That's
yeah,
the juggling.
absolutely. Yeah,
That's the juggling.
exactly.
And I think that, we look at other people as if they're perfect and they're doing better than we are and they're honest. But we only just know the image we just see them, but we don't know their history. We don't know the decisions that they make till this day. And then we think whenever we beat ourselves up, we look at another person and says, oh, they're doing better than I am. They're smarter than I am. They're more honest than I am. And we don't even know them. Isn't that crazy how we beat ourselves up and we compare ourselves to other people just to become more self-loathing about ourselves? So even today, I mean, there are choices that I make where I'm still kind of going through that journey of like, okay, Robbie, you're creating this podcast, you're creating kind of like this idea of helping other people. How can we now start to focus on those unhealthy behaviors, pull back slowly,
Exactly.
and focus on the big picture? And I'm blessed to be able to get to this stage of my life of that awareness of saying, okay, I recognize some unhealthy impulses, right? And I'm thinking, okay, they're there. I get it. They're there. But I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to start to figure out a plan to reduce those things and to grow in this area.
Exactly.
And I think when most people have these, unhealthy replacement behaviors, which we all do, it could be eating, it could be anything, they're not replacing it with something that's healthier.
That's a good point.
They're continuing in this road of like, well, this is what's comfortable for me. It's momentary pleasure. It's just whatever I need to really distract myself from that emotional hardness, that uncomfort that I'm dealing with myself. But what I found is if I don't replace it with something else that's healthier, that I love to do, that I enjoy, like in the book Atomic Habits, he has a whole chapter of talking about, I forget what he
Little
talks
things,
about.
little things
like
about
little
life.
things, And what I'm learning is that this podcast alone is helping me to achieve kind of a new mindset of like, oh, this is cool. Like I never thought I'd actually do something like this. And then I'm really focusing on the other things that I thought were giving me momentarily pleasure. I said, do I really want those things? So now I'm being filled in this whole different area in my life where I'm like finding kind of a purpose, my predestined vocation. It's crazy how each and every one of us has a predestined vocation.
Absolutely.
Like prior to when we were even born. I mean, we're both people, we believe in God. And some people that are watching this, they don't believe in God, which is totally cool. But I think that each and every person before they were born was meant to do something. And it's up to us to search for it.
Yep.
You searched for it at a really young age and you found it at 15 years old. That's huge. Most people don't get it until their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and they go throughout their whole life not reaching the potential of joy that they were meant to have, like what you're experiencing.
Absolutely.
So something that at 30, in my late 30s right now is, oh, I get it now. I'm starting to find my purpose, my identity. It's bringing me joy. I wake up in the morning with a goal, with a vision, with a mission. And I inspire anyone that's watching this right now to really focus, juggle, and keep juggling.
Yeah.
Even though you know that there's parts of your life that are just not
Perfect.
they're not perfect and maybe they're poor choices. Keep juggling, but don't give up. Keep focusing on that other part of focusing on finding that predestined vocation. Because if we don't, guess what? we're going to keep mingling in that area.
Even worse, if you are not going to be able to do the job, then someone
Right.
will come and do the job on you.
Exactly.
And just there are consequences on not doing anything,
Right.
on not being like encouraged to take your life with your hands, and make it worth it.
And so what did you mean that if you don't take a hold of your life, somebody's going to do it for you? What did you mean by that?
So they are going to manipulate you.
Exactly. 100%. 100%.
You are maybe not going to notice it, but and that's the root for toxic relationships.
Absolutely.
Like you're being very, very much depressed.
Yeah.
Like
because we're looking for something in that other person to complete us.
And you are losing track of yourself. That's the worst thing that you can do. I mean, like you are going to forget about yourself.
Yeah.
Your inner self.
Yeah, you don't even have an identity anymore. You're waiting for the other person to steer the ship.
Exactly.
And you're waiting for them to make the move, even though it's toxic behavior, because you're afraid if you don't please that person, they're going to leave you. And then who's going to end up alone with you, with me? Me. And if I don't know my identity, then, oh yeah, that is a really bad fear to be alone.
Exactly.
Because then I have to deal with my own demons.
Exactly. And you told it before. Whenever you are trying to clean the house, whenever it's cleansed, and we both believe in the same God, I think.
Right.
When the house is cleansed, you have to immediately fill it with positive thinking, with positive habits, with quitting out toxic relationship. It has to do with relationship. Everything is a relationship. Your relationship with your family, your relationship with your job, your relationship with the money, with your everything. And kind of quitting those relationships is not just, I can't quit the relationship with money.
It's the juggling process.
It's the juggling process, and approaching, shifting the kind of, the kind of mind that you give into each relationship is kind of healing those relationships that are basic relationships for you. In my case, for me, the most important one is going to be with my Creator, with that, with God, and then with others.
Right.
Then with my job, and then with the money and all that kind of stuff, but
because every one of those things are going to come into place because your primary relationship is there.
Exactly.
A lot of people that don't believe in a higher power or creator or God, it's the people that are, back home, we have a lot of addiction. We have a lot of alcoholism. And in the 12-step program, the very first step is to surrender to a higher power greater than yourself.
Exactly.
It's the hardest step because people don't have a concept of I don't ever want to believe in God. I don't want to have anything to do with that. But what you don't realize is those people that do make that first step, they end up actually having the closest relationship with their higher power because it's the only power that can take away things that we don't have control over.
And it's the only power that is truth power.
Right.
Is not based on on lies.
Right.
On you believing that you have to be like this kind of successful entrepreneur with car, with mansions, and it's fine. There are people that eventually they became very, very mindful of and aware of how they can manage money and how they can use it, and they eventually become billionaires without surrendering themselves to lies and.
Absolutely. And these are people that I don't live with them, and I don't know how they feel, but based on statistics, they're some of the most lonely people you'll ever meet because they're masking their life with things.
Yeah.
Look at what I have, and not only that. Rich people manipulate other people with their money, even relationships, And eventually, a lot of people these days are catching on to narcissistic personality disorder people because these people are using their wealth, they're using their success to reel people in. Oh, if you leave me, then a lot of people today are recognizing or waking up and saying, I don't want anything that you have to offer. I'm leaving. All the things that you've been trying to love bomb with and your wealth and all I don't need it.
They are not important for you.
It's not important. And it's a sad thing that people today that are wealthy, that are toxic, that are manipulating people with their things because they know they don't have anything to offer themselves. They're masking it with, I can offer you this, as long as you stay with me.
Convenience.
But what they don't realize is they really don't have anything in here, which is what we were talking about, identity, looking in the mirror and saying, hi, Robbie, I see you.
I love you.
I love you. And that was hard for me to say because in the past, not all my choices were the best in the past. And I kept ruminating in my head and saying, oh, you're a horrible person. You're a horrible person. But God really woke me up and said, hey, it's time for you to let go of those things. It's time for you to let go because I'm creating a new life for you, a new life. And it's insane how we beat ourselves up to a pulp over and over. We're just recreating the stories
but
in our
because
head.
that's one of the most powerful tools that evil and bad feelings and all that stuff, I call it evil because it has his name.
Yeah.
This is most of the tool or most of the time that evil employs is on blaming you.
Oh, absolutely.
Like pointing you out.
Yeah.
Because you did that. And whenever you ask yourself, pardon yourself and forgive yourself and receive forgiveness. Because sometimes even devil convince us that we do not worth it, that kind of, forgiveness. Coming from our
We're
creator.
garbage.
We're garbage.
We're garbage.
Right.
Do you know how many times I get those? It's crazy when you start to become aware of the truth. You're having a healthier sense of self. And then all of a sudden, the thoughts come in. Say, remember that one time? Remember when you did that?
Yeah.
Do you know how many people would hate you for that?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, wow, I'm starting to fall down this rabbit hole of shame. Oh my gosh, I do remember that. And then you're creating the story and you keep going with it. But you said something very important. Forgiveness, to accept it.
Yeah. The only thing you have to do is accept it.
Right.
I mean, for me, it's kind of whenever I say it, it's gonna be easy
easier
hearing
said than done.
and easy
Absolutely.
to say it. Of course, it's really hard to accept it.
Right.
It's not a thing that I have plenty of evidence of how to do it because maybe our nature is to blame ourselves one and two and keep blaming. But whenever I arrive to those kind of thoughts that now they are less and less and less,
because you're figuring out your identity.
Exactly.
And the more we're in our identity and in our value, we're like, what?
Exactly.
That's not true.
And you have authority over your thoughts.
Right.
And I mean you have authority because someone believed and make you believe that you have authority and gave you authority and you received that authority, right? But we forgot about who gave us that authority and how we can act with authority over our lives and over others' lives.
Amen to that.
Yeah,
that's true.
So I think that the example of the house, whenever the house is cleansed and whenever we push all that out, if we leave it empty, then that guy that went out is going to find 7
10
other
others,
guys,
right,
10 others.
right.
And, okay, now
right, and he's waiting at such a vulnerable moment, and it just like that.
Exactly.
He steals you.
It's just a moment, one moment.
It's just a moment. The other day I had this idea that I want to cut out alcohol for a while. I said, okay, I'm going to cut out alcohol. I'll just take it one day at a time. I'm not an alcoholic, but I just figure I don't want to drink for a while. I don't want to just go to a social gathering to think that I just need to drink, And plus it's, to save money too. And so I showed up at a jazz bar and it's like, okay, what do I do? It's a jazz bar. People are drinking. I feel a little bit of a loner here. What do I just drink a juice, a Coca-Cola? So, a few hours went by and I was doing pretty good at it. And then a friend joined me and he's like, oh, do you want to go out tonight? We all went out. I was like, all right, I caved in. I have to drink. What am I going to do? Hang out with a bunch of people and not drink? But that's a perfect example of the 10 others coming back. Do you know the thoughts that I was having that whole night?
I can imagine.
It wasn't from me.
Of course.
It was something deeper.
Mm-hmm.
I was having thoughts like, you fool. Really? You're not going to drink? Everybody's drinking. It's honest. Do what everybody else is doing. And I was kind of like going with the thoughts of, I was thinking it was just my own thoughts, but looking back, I could really see how like, I was just like, just grab a beer or something like that.
And you can have one beer.
One beer, right?
Why not?
And then gradually the night went by and I was grabbing another beer. And then I found myself more intoxicated. And I was like, how did I get here? And it's insane. You said when the house is clean and you don't take care of it and replace things and add healthier things.
Feel the house. Feel the house.
Those voices are going to come right back and be like, what happened to your old life?
Mm-hmm.
The party, the music, the people. He's like, you're not wasting your life. It's just momentary. You could go back to your goals. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, where is this all coming from? It's insane.
Yeah.
Because I think that what happens is, like you said, we have been given, what did you say? Authority. I think what happens is the enemy, however people want to perceive the enemy, whether that be the devil or I don't know what other ways.
That kind of voice.
Yeah, a voice, a hidden voice. It doesn't have to be the enemy. It could be a voice.
And it's not usually a nice voice. I mean,
right.
It's not usually a voice that is talking like
nicely.
Things
it's not something that you would encourage a friend with.
Exactly. So that to make the difference.
Yeah, to make a difference. And I think what happened was you said that we can have authority, but the voice knows our potential. That's the scary thing, is that we don't actually know our own value.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Our value is like, think about all the money in the world, and then there's me. And I'm worth way more than that. But we don't see ourselves like that. We see ourselves as that when we start getting the success and doing the things, then I can start placing the value on me and showing people this is my value.
Yeah.
But we don't walk around with this attitude of like, no, yes, I'm not going to do that because I know what I'm worth. Mm-hmm. And now that voice knows that we can have authority over the voice. That's why it's crazy that if we don't clean the house and not only clean it, but fill it
and maintain it.
And maintain it, it's just going to come right back in a circle doing the same things we were doing before.
Yeah. So it's like every single day you have to choose to fill your house, to clean your house. It's not that you can take a day off. Of course you can. Of course you can. You cannot take a day off like to contemplate what you have done, what God have done over you.
Right.
You know? But I think that's the hard part. It's not hard whenever you kind of learn how to make pull-ups and push-ups and all that kind of stuff, whenever you are taking care of your body and stuff. The hard thing is to follow, how do you say it? Routine. And I mean, for me, it has worked. A routine has worked. And it's not going to be my routine. It's going to be God's routine. So it's going to be my ritual, like whenever I wake up or whenever I'm just going out my house, my home, I just thank God and just ask Him, what is He inviting me to do
That's
today?
Interesting that you say that. I was talking to a man a few weeks ago, and he said, Robbie, the most important thing you can do is discernment. Mm-hmm. To discern your day, and not just your day, compartmentalize your day with discernment. For the next hour, what do you want me to do?
Exactly.
And that's insane. That it's crazy that you shared that with me, because it's exactly what he shared with me. He said, moment by moment, what do you want me to do now? And that means there's meaning and purpose in your day, rather than wasting and thinking, oh, I have all this time. What do I do with my time? Mm-hmm. Well, instead shifting it and asking the higher power and saying, what do you want me to do? And then all of a sudden he's guiding you because you asked.
You leave yourself to be like guided.
Right. A vessel.
Yeah. And I think that whenever you feel that, it gives you peace of mind, that it gives you kind of, gozo, this kind of bliss, happiness, or maybe just calm, that's gonna be the right way to go.
Right.
Even if you have to end up with someone, or you have to cut with some relationship, I mean, or just to set up a little better in terms of like how I approach to this relationship with the alcohol. I mean, like I'm a huge fan of God, a huge believer. I mean, like in terms of He revealing me who He is, yeah, and who am I for Him. Of course, the journey is still a long journey to go, right?
Of course.
But
and now you're getting into it. You're getting married soon.
Exactly.
And you have a whole different chapter in your life.
a whole different chapter, of course. But if I'm not able to learn from my Creator, from the one that really knows for what am I created to be, to do, and to help others to be, So if I do not have that connection, then I'm gonna be like making poor choices always.
Absolutely.
Making, how do you say it in English? Mundanas. I mean, like vain choices that are going to like hurt me and hurt others in terms of like arriving to the same place that I started. That's painful also because it's frustrated.
Yeah.
I mean, in that spiritual kind of thing. I'm not meaning that whenever you have to try, of course we have to try.
Yeah, of
always.
course.
I'm just going to give you a quick example of how much people like tries, how often they try, and it's a really, really, really low number. Like
they give up too
90% of people, like kind of, like whenever you are trying to throw an arrow, they are just aiming. 90% of the people are just aiming and here and then, and they never act on just, firing. 5% of people aim, then fires, and then they give up because they didn't.
Wow. That's amazing.
And the other percentage, the other 5% of people are going to keep aiming.
I'm
firing,
the 5%.
Aiming and firing and trying, and eventually you are going to hit the spot.
Absolutely.
That's what it takes. I mean, whenever you are trying to shave yourself,
right?
We men, we do not just give a one long cut and then we are. No, we come like little by
slowly.
little.
Or like when you're cutting your hair.
Exactly.
Like
whenever you are cutting your exactly.
Maintaining my hair.
I mean, man, it's kind of hard to look like as awesome as you look,
Thanks.
Really. So I think it's kind of a process, and we don't usually know that it also requires from us to keep trying.
That's
keep
amazing.
Trying. And to keep trying also to have that conversation with God, because people always point God, okay, so God doesn't love me because I just keep begging him for begging him to help me with something, and he didn't. It's not kind of God's responsibility always. I mean, here goes the last kind of thought. I will love you. We like you to have and to give you, and it's a really beautiful thought, because I really think that God give us the blessing. Depends on us on how much of the happiness we are going to, to feel and to evoke from that blessing. You have to identify the blessing. You have to know what the blessing means, and you have to ask God how to receive that blessing.
Wow, this is deep stuff. This is incredible information. This is incredible
today.
Because,
I was like coming to the studio with my Beyoncé, and she asked for God to make her happy, and then I stopped her and make we have a really nice relationship. I mean, a really nice ritual of praying a lot whenever we are starting our day. And she also prays with me, and it's a really, really nice habit.
Wow, I really want to meet your fiance.
Yeah, I think you are going to love her. I mean, it's really a nice person. And I had to stop her on a moment when she asked God to make her happy. And I told her, hey, God is not going to make you happy. God is going to give you the blessing so that you decide to be happy with that blessing.
How did she respond?
She took it very, very nice.
That's amazing. So that could go two different ways. Because now here's a challenge for the both of us. Okay, I come from a background where, I love my mom unconditionally, love her so much. But in the past, she was always telling me or correcting me, right? Instead of maybe allowing me to unfold that on my own. And now, not to say that what you did was wrong. I thought it was beautiful the way you approached that, and the way she received it was very beautifully. But I've noticed that through another program that I'm in, I'm learning that when I put 100% of the focus on myself, and I have very little inclination to try to correct or advise people, that's been a challenge for me. And I think that I'm gradually seeing the reward, because I think what I've noticed from my background is when people correct me, it doesn't give me a chance to actually take ownership over that on my own. It's a beautiful thing. But I like how you approach that. It's just a thought that I had that I wanted to share.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Thank
welcome.
you. I mean, like, this is a really good conversation. I mean, like, we talking about so deep kind of stuff.
It is, and I think it's information, and it's so important for us to talk about, because I look back with all the people that have given me advice, and I never asked. And not to say what you did was wrong. I thought it was great with what you did. But how often do people don't ask and we tell them?
Yeah. Yesterday, I was recording a podcast and said opinions are the more abundant, non-asked opinions are the more abundant kind of opinions.
Yeah, so anytime somebody's sharing, I just say thank you. I really see how much you care enough to be able to want what's best for me. But maybe next time I'd like to ask. Yeah. And they're like, oh, interesting.
Okay, so here is like just like a little kind of reminder, and I don't know, it's kind of me. I need to change that, because whenever people point God in this kind of way, because they are going to get frustrated right. Anyway. Whenever they ask God for that kind of things. He's not going to keep that.
But it's good though. So there's no right or wrong here.
Yeah.
There
absolutely.
really isn't. It's just from my experience, I think that I was so glad that your fiance took it that way.
Yeah.
Because she genuinely knows that this person wants literally the best for me.
Absolutely.
And she took it in a way of humility and said, wow, thank you for sharing that. And I think a lot of people are like that. I think for me, because I come from a background where my family was just giving me advice left or right. And then now I'm in my adulthood and people are like, I'm like, yeah, I'm not asking for anybody to like, but I thought it was great with what you did. And I think there's a fine line between, I know a lot of people that are religious evangelize. And evangelization is something that, of course, people are not going to ask because that's like your mission, So it's like a discernment on what is evangelization and when is it where I'm just allowing others to kind of like do their own process. And I think most people that are going to watch this are maybe not religious people. So my next question is, what would you say? I know we've been talking about God, relationship with God, which a lot of people, when they hear that, they're like, they'll turn off the channel.
Yeah, no.
And so and that's okay. I don't mind if people turn off the channel, because talking about God is amazing. But how do we make it make sense for people in a secular way? Isn't that weird? Because not everyone is going to conform. I mean, there's people in their a lot of older people are like, do not bring up the word God with me, because they have their own bad experiences with the church, with people, and then they put that image on God because of the experiences that they have had. Sure. So how do we translate it in a secular way with focusing on maybe our having authority over us and stuff like that? So how do we translate that so it makes sense to people? Is there a way to do it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Is there a way to do it? But I would like to begin like telling people that I was the less believer.
Oh, okay.
I did came from a very, like Catholic family, but I asked myself a bunch of questions all my life. when I was a kid, when I was having all this transition between like looking for my purpose and all that stuff. However, the best way to do it is like name it with its own name. I mean, I cannot.
Yeah, there's no other way. I know
It's
funny.
only one way. You
It's
know,
weird because a lot of people take offense to like when you bring up religion and God, and because they weren't raised with any type of planting of the seed, or their parents didn't introduce them to faith because they were just raised with secularism.
Exactly.
And that's all there is.
I was raised with secularism
Oh, really?
around me.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I really started, and I really like took very seriously my spiritual path and all things that we are talking about now. Just 4 years from now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a short time.
Yeah.
What was your transformation, or what was your aha moment?
Aha moment when I thought I like maybe tomorrow I will die because I was having a heart attack,
Oh.
a cardiac arrest. Because
you had a heart attack?
I didn't want.
Oh.
I mean, like it was kind of that was the kind of
anxiety attack.
I think that was the moment of my life that I was saved in terms of
Wow.
all the medical examinations and diagnosis. It
that's
pointed
amazing.
it pointed that I was like I had
Right.
a cardiac arrest, but it seems like all was a part of a reaction of my body. Like after I drank water, like, and I have like a really hard cough, like when I cough, and maybe that hurt my heart, right? But like bunch of the thoughts I had on that moment was, hey, what am I doing with my life? Am I like having the life that I want to have? Am I feeling the way I would like to feel? It's not only a matter of physical kind of feeling, like you feeling well with your body, and
Right.
it's an emotional kind of
Absolutely.
and I did the right questions. I mean, I think I did the right questions, and they were answered.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think whenever we are open to receive an answer,
Open. You
Yeah.
just said the word open to it. There's like a scripture. It says, "Ask and you'll receive; knock and
Yeah.
the doors will be answered." I remember I was like going to different churches and really seeing like, why is the church I go to the right church? There must be
Yeah.
another right church.
still I'm asking myself that
And
as
I'm
well.
like, well, there has to be a reason. So let me go search. And I searched, and I feel like that God gave me the answer. He said, you're exactly where I want you to be. And it doesn't
Very
mean to
good.
say that other people that go to different churches
No.
don't have a relationship with God.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy thing. I think most religions are just in competition with one another. My God's better than your God.
Yeah.
It's like we all have one God.
Absolutely.
And it's insane. It's like other people from religions treat other people from religions differently because they're not a part of their religion.
Nah.
It's the craziest thing, and that's
Yeah.
just not the definition.
With churches of the same religion.
Exactly, they're just tearing each other apart. There's the right and the left, and people's politics are different. But people don't even get the basis of who God is: acceptance, loving kindness, forgiveness, equality.
Intentional.
So, man, I'm super grateful to be talking to you, and I congratulate you for all your success. And thank you for being a part of this short journey that we've been friendships. And really, like I hope that your success grows, and your relationship with your future wife is going to be amazing.
So much appreciated. Man.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you and having this conversation. I mean, like, for me, it's always like learning something new.
Right.
And I think that's something that no anybody can give you. I mean, like, just few people can touch deep on my heart, because I mean, like, we having this conversation is not just like random kind of thing.
No, when my mouth is moving, I don't even think it's my mouth moving.
yeah.
I just feel, wait, blah, 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 blah. It's weird. Yeah, I'm like, there's somebody operating my mouth.
Amazing. So thank you for that. I mean,
Thank you. I appreciate you. And check out Juan's studio, Stereo Joint Studios here in Bogota. If you're a musician, if you want to record a podcast, if you want to start your own thing and inspire other people, you got to really come to Stereo Joint Studios, because it's a comfortable environment. And it's a great place to, just express your creativity and to search for your true identity. So don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave a comment on Spotify. Would really appreciate your support, and we'll see you on the next one.
Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel where I travel around the world and I share my experience, my strength, and my hope with the people I encounter every single day. Travel and journey with me around the world as I see the most beautiful parts of this mundo. Be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and remember that you are loved.